Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Let's call our building committee meeting to order. We do have a quorum. We are in conference room 5 and unfortunately only 3 working microphones. So if you can't hear us, please speak up because we're going to be sharing a few of them as we go. So thank you for that. We got minutes from March 12th to approve.
So moved.
Move for approval by Mr. Ike, seconded by Mr. Berman. Lois, you have some corrections?
I have just a request of Joe. When you do the minutes, this is page 4 out of 7, item E, A1, 2. Clark asked you a question, and when you responded by saying that you gave him the reason. It would be, I think, more useful for the minutes if it said what you said as opposed to just saying that you gave him the reason for the decision. And because the minutes don't really mean anything if the answer isn't there.
Got a recording. Number 2, I'm getting conflicting requests from different people on the board, on the committee, to either shorten them or to make them longer. You know, I'm kind of caught in the middle of those two.
Sorry, we can't actually hear you guys.
Oh, yeah, Joe does not have a microphone. Hold on.
I said, can you hear me now? I tried turning on my computer. Can you hear me now or no?
Obviously not.
All right, I said I was caught between 2 factions of the committee. Some that are asking me to make the minutes longer and include more detail, and some that are asking me to include less detail and more of an overall outline. So we need to make a decision on what you want here because I'm going back and forth and kind of going cuckoo.
Yeah, I'm a proponent of making the minutes as short as possible, and they really only need to cover actions taken. But however, Lois, your point is well taken. If something is brought, Joe, if you're going to bring something up, I guess you got to bring it to a conclusion. So, yeah, but by the same token, you do not have to list everything that happens in the meeting other than actions taken. So I'll let you wrestle with that. I had one.
Maybe the reasoning didn't take very many words to say.
Right.
It was extensive reasoning.
It was pretty convoluted with a lot of people.
I had one minor thing, page 2, 3/4 of the way down, the bullet that starts mechanical piping. The next to the last word should be main rather than male. Anybody else with anything on the minutes? Ava, you've got your hand up. Is that for real? You can just speak up.
Okay. Just about the thing with the minutes, I'm in agreement with Lois. If there is a substantive conversation of any kind, the minutes have to reflect what that content was. They don't have to be hugely detailed, but it should be a transcript of what went on so that anyone watching the meeting would understand what the business at hand was and how it was managed. Just, you know, if you'd like my copy of Robert's Rules, it's right here on my computer, but that avoids any problems with someone complaining to the commission that we have not complied.
All right, thanks, Ava. Anything else on the minutes? We have a motion to accept the minutes. You okay with the amendments, Mr. Ike and Mr.
Yes,
Berman?
sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. New business. Let's go to project update from our construction management team. I'll hit that later. And we've got Anthony and Scott in the room. Anybody online? Johnny's there. Hey, Johnny.
Johnny's
Hey.
there. Good evening, everyone. This is Scott Scholl Downs, and it's good to see everybody again. Just a quick general update before Anthony gets into his agenda. With the brick going up and almost being completed, finishes going in and a bridge installed, there's a light at the end of the tunnel and we're seeing it. And it's very exciting. TSKP's design is coming to fruition and it's looking really good. With that being said, just some of our latest challenges we've been through with fiber and some code hurdles that we've had to get through with the building inspector. It looks like that we're going to be finishing up construction as you're getting ready to move in and getting us coordinated. It's actually time to start coordinating how that's going to look between what it's going to take to move everything in and what kind of time that is, what kind of time it's going to take to build all the FF&E, and what kind of time it's going to take for technology to come to fruition inside the building with Chris Silowak. So Anthony's been talking to Doug from Colliers, and we've determined that for next Tuesday's owners meeting, we're going to get together and talk about the schedule for FF&E and how that's going to come to fruition with our schedule and see how that lines up with the weeks that we had lined out as a guesstimate from the beginning of the job to what it really is going to take to get you guys moved in there. But we're really excited to do that, and we're going to be talking about that a lot more in these upcoming building committee meetings.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Sound like-
Obviously, Doug is the major player in that,
Yeah.
you know, having the reins of the mover and so forth. So that's
We're
great.
in the
That's
shaker.
great. And I know Doug's been working on, you know, all those timelines as well. So
Yes.
Yep. So we're going to start bringing it together.
Yeah. Yep. Anthony and I spoke this morning about it.
Awesome.
And,
All right. So with that, there's no questions. We'll get right into the agenda.
okay, let's go to Anthony.
Right, let me share the screen, everybody. I just want to say, Chris, thank you very much for the work with Crown Castle. I know we've been talking back and forth for quite a bit. That purchase order did get released today around noontime. So thank you for that, Chris. Really appreciate it. And Joe is not chopped liver. Put that in the minutes, Joe. All right, standard agenda. All right, nothing's changed. Same format, same layout. All right, general items, interior mock-ups are being completed. As I always say, we want to use these mock-ups as a tool to make sure we are getting the proper details for TSKP done. So Jeff's been on calls, coming to a couple site visits, checking things out. Everything looks good. We just want to make sure, with as intricate as the details are going in for the finishes, that we are corresponding with TSKP's design and their thought process behind it. Same goes for the exterior mock-up. We just had a nice roofing sheet metal work group meeting. We established what the details were and what it's going to look like with TSKP and our subcontractor last week. Exterior scaffolding stair general item is going to be removed from the site early next week. Open up that whole south side now that the brick is going to be complete, this weekend. Masonry, though, above on the low roof will be completed, but that scaffolding could go away. Van Zelm continues to review installed MEP systems, providing the field reports. We do have their MEP equipment checklist for startup that are being filled out by the respective subcontractor. We're planning on starting up the boilers and the rooftop units on April 4th. That's the tentative date for now. And then we'll get into the details of Prosser. Site work contractor has started the final grading at the north entrance of the garage as well as the east elevation sidewalks. They're also prepping for final grading for the installation of the plaza entrance slab, along with the installation of the trench drain at this location. Cast stone face brick has been completed at the northwest and east elevations. Cast stone and brick installations, as you could see when you drive past, are continuing on the south elevation with the completion of this work by the end of the week. This is for the main chunk below the canopy ceiling, but they'll be on next week working above on the low roof, finishing that small section of brick along that elevation as well. But major milestone is getting the space to open up, the tower down, and the conventional scaffolding out of the way. Face brick is substantially complete with the interior, at the interior of the main library. This includes the soldier coursing at the top of the hung lintels. at the column openings. Spray foam insulation work has been completed also at the garage level, as well as the completion of the column intumescent paint. Garage ramp and guardrail systems have been installed. We're working through some code compliance with Dwight and the town. So we're working through that on that guardrail system. Drywall has basically been substantially complete on the second level and main level for quite some time. Interior taping is about 100% complete on the second level, and there's a couple small little areas left to be completed. That's why I have it at 98%. Second level priming paint is all been completed. Final painting continues at the second level. Bathroom wall tiles and floor tiles have been installed on all bathrooms throughout the building. Flooring mitigation, we talked about a month ago, has been installed at the second level offices area. Carpet installation is going to follow on Monday. Those areas are closed off, so nobody could walk on the mitigation system that has been applied. Elevator cabin finishes are being installed. Fire protection continues with minor adjustments being made throughout the space in corresponding with the correct ceiling requirements. This is in the custom plywood ceiling, as well as in the drop-in acoustical ceiling throughout the space. Plumbing fixtures have been installed with all the bathrooms. That's the sinks and toilets, all done and installed throughout the building. Ductwork installations and insulation is about 98% complete for the entire building. Final tie-ins with installations of diffusers within the drop-down ceilings are happening. Mechanical piping is finishing touches on that, and it's continuing throughout all levels. That's a critical item to get our above-ceiling inspections complete. RTUs are ready for startup, like I noted before, on April 4th. Same with the boilers and hot water tank with the final piping tie-ins pretty much complete. Startup reports and checklists for Van Zelm are being populated as we speak. HVAC controls, rough-ins continuing along with the rest of the BMS system requirements. Electrical light fixtures and devices are being installed through the spaces on walls and within ceilings. There's a couple wall sconces on the exterior of the building on the west elevation that have been installed. So at night you could see those light up. They were lit up the other night. It looked really nice. Fire alarm and comm system installations are ongoing. Crown Castle confirmation is what we need on the work start now that that purchase order has been released as of today. So we've been in direct contact with them. We're gonna push and to get them out here to complete their fiber work. Millwork deliveries are continuing. Installations have slowly started on the second level and admin spaces in the upper and lower cabinetry and counters. Main level deliveries are following. Custom wood ceilings are being installed on the second level and the high bay areas of the library. Delivery of the 3-inch glue lamp panels, like I noted last week, they're all here, they're all done. Fastening requirements have been reviewed by the third-party engineer as well as MHA. Now, to correspond with those ceiling panel installations, this 3-inch glue lamp trim panel will be going now that we have some engineering done and it's safe to install these. Aluminum at the upper level windows in the north elevation, west elevation has been installed. Glass is going to commence once again on the west elevation, and now that the south elevation brick is complete with that aluminum framing. Aluminum interior glass walls and doors have been installed on the second level and main level. Acoustical ceiling grid and tiles in select areas on the second floor are still in progress. The cloud ceilings have been laid out on the ground and ready for installation once the exposed items above that ceiling are painted. That's within the children's area. We're gonna paint the structure blue, and then you'll have a cloud ceiling. You'll see in my pictures of how we lay it out on the floor to make all the, make sure all the measurements and all the adjustments are made on the floor before we start installing it and hanging it. Acoustical ceiling grade installations have started also within the garage area now that the intumescent paint is complete. So that opens up a lot of work for our ceiling subcontractor, our electrician, our sprinkler subcontractor, so on and so forth. Anybody have any questions so far?
Questions for Anthony?
Is now when you would tell us that the bathroom.
Lois, you want to get the microphone close to you?
Sorry, is now when you would tell us that the bathroom issue has been resolved?
As far as the auto closers,
Yes.
auto operators, there was a PR that was established by TSKP formally, and we have submitted it to our subcontractors for formal pricing. So right now, that's the route we're going to take. There's going to be one bathroom on the second floor, and then that door 114B, which is the opening or the doorway into the community room, will be operable on push button as well.
So Anthony, I think part
Oh.
of it I can just address later, but I think that if you just convey to them that the gang toilets and a number of all the sliding doors at the main entrances and another door in that vestibule, those are all originally included in the contract. There was two that we're adding based on Bob's request last time.
Correct. Thanks, Jeff. I just wanted to talk about the two added ones. But I thank you for bringing the rest of them up.
Okay, you may continue.
All righty, Riley, pedestrian bridge, as you know, has been set. Electrical conduit installations are still happening under the bridge. Final site work prep is ongoing. We're installing the swales and gratings on the back and moving out towards the road. Exterior lot poles have been installed. There's one remaining at this time. Concrete work at the bridge and ramp has been completed. Steel work is going to start next week. And once that work is complete with the steel, the stairs will be formed and poured and completed as well. And that last section of bridge will be installed as well at that time. All right, going down. Any questions with on the Riley site?
Questions for Anthony? Okay. Bob?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one. I know originally you were talking about paving the Riley site in April. I presume that's going to be pushed off a little bit.
Paving season doesn't really start until mid-April anyway.
Oh.
So I think we have plenty of time to get that stair in, that steel in, to hit it right on line with the paving.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
All righty. Moving on, item B, requisitions and PCOs. March 2025 requisition is currently being assembled. It's in my court for my review before sending to TSP and Colliers for their input. But it will be for surely on for the next committee meeting for formal approval by the committee. I am looking for approval and signature on GMP change order number 11, which was a total value of $0. It was allowance expenditures. I have this here, and I am looking for formal committee approval on that.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Ike, seconded by Mr. Berman. This is change order number 11, which consists of the previously approved PCOs 68 and 70.
70.
And it nets at 0 because it's allowances. Questions, comments? Mr. Berman.
Yes. Does this end up wiping out the premium time budget, or is there still some money
There's
left?
still money left in these allowances.
Other questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion to approve PCCO number 11, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
All right. Budget and pending PCOs. We know item our PCO 34, which is DOT paving requirements. We're still holding that steady right now. We want to work with the DOT now that the paving season is coming upon us to make this go away. I know Jason has a good relationship with the DOT inspector as well as the foreman from Manafort. So we're going to try to make this cost either go down or go away in full. So that's my goal, but I wanted to track it and be conservative as possible to make sure the money is accounted for at this time. But I'm hoping to make that go away. PCO 47, column line 4 modifications. I did finally get a little bit of cost from our gypsum drywall subcontractor along with our steel guy. We'll be formally submitting that to the design team and their consultants for formal review and approval. PCO 59, which is the bridge sonotube subgrade enhancement. We did finally get our T&M reconciled with Manafort. I know I was originally showing a budget of $17,000. Because of the existing conditions, they had to dig deeper, which now they had to bring in more concrete, a flowable fill, and the price went up to $31,160. That is a hard number. I am going to submit it to TSKP and Welty for their review and comment as well before I bring it to the next committee meeting. But I wanted everybody to be as transparent as possible to make sure that money is accounted for. So yeah, that went up about $13,000 from the original budget number that I had in there. PCO 71 is type 3 soil, topsoil upcharge. This was an RFI response that we got. I still am reviewing it with Manafort. I am going to put it together for TSKP and SLR for their review to make sure everything is okay there. That is a hard number from them at this point, but again, it's got to go through the courses and the props process. PCO 72, guardrail system railings and stair 1 VE process. I missed an email from a while back from our Miss Metal subcontractor. As you know, during the VE process in the stairwell 1, we got rid of what we like to call a chase, a double width ground face block that created a chase. With the original design, we were supposed to put a wall rail up. But because we removed that block that created a void, I now had to make a guardrail system with pickets and a railing, which was an additional cost of $6,772. It wasn't picked up during the VE process, so now that it's coming full circle, I did miss an email a few months back that I found from our subcontractor. So to install a picket system guardrail with a handrail on it now, because there was a void there in open space, there was an additional cost. It would have been just fine if we kept it as a wall rail and we still had that ground faced double width CMU wall there. It just would have been a single rail line attached to the wall. But because now we had a void space, we had to introduce a guardrail system. So I will get that in for review from TSKP and consultants. But I'm looking to bring that to the committee level next time. So yes, that was my fault. I missed a few months ago email that was submitted to me once they started the fabrication of that stair.
Mr. Berman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Anthony, when I took the tour a couple weeks ago and I used stairway number 1, I saw very clearly it's too wide space to leave. You just can't leave it.
Correct.
Need a protection there.
Yep.
So there really is no choice.
Yep. Thank you, Bob. All right, that's it for budget and pending
For your
PCOs.
budget.
Yes, official PCOs I like to go for committee approval tonight. First one is PCO 64, which is a south hung lintel modification per RFI 223 response in the amount of $7,960. We originally provided shop drawings from our steel subcontractor with dimensioning based on some red line and review markups that switched the dimension up. We had to make, at the end of the day, the original drawings were going to be followed, so we had to make some field modifications to that steel lintel. It affected the brick on the outside. It affected some framing on the inside. So this cost is from our structural steel subcontractor in the amount of $7,960 to make those field adjustments on this hung lintel in the amount, like I said before, of $7,960.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Ike. Second by Mr. Berman. Questions? Lois and then Clark.
I looked at the graphics to go with it. I still couldn't tell what was happening. Could you please just tell me where and
Yes,
what?
so what happened is we originally had a 7-inch plate, original submission of the shop drawings. During the process of review between consultants and everybody, it got changed from 7 inches down to 3.5 inches. And, our subcontractor at the end of the day was right. So they installed the 3.5 per the notes made. And at the end of the day, it should have been the 7-inch. So we had to do field modifications, plate adjustments on it to get it to work with the brick support, as well as the inside brick, as well as the framing.
But where?
On the south elevation, right over there, at one of the big openings where the hung lintels are.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Clark, did you have a question? He's good. Clark is good. Any other questions, comments? All in favor of approving PCO number 64 for $7,960, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you. Next.
All righty, PCO 73. All right, it's premium time allotment number 3, which is a part of our GMP allowance. But it's going to be a net value of 0 cost to the project, but a deduct from the GMP allowance line item for premium time of $11,769. And that consists of our masonry contractor who worked on premium time for the last basically few months to get the brick done and on the building to the point where we are today, as well as our drywall contractor to finish up some taping and drywall within the space to get it ready for final paint. So these two are 2 subcontractors who've worked premium time. Just note that there'll still be other contractors from this point forward working on premium time. And to answer Bob's question, because I know it's going to come, we still have funds left in that allowance.
So moved.
Move for approval by Mr. Ike, seconded by Mr. Berman. Questions? Okay, all in favor of PCO number 73 for a net total of 0, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you. Next.
PCO 74, as we come to the end of our temporary enclosures and wind and storms, this is allotment number 4 to be applied to our GMP established allowance for temporary enclosures and safety. Is for our gypsum drywall contractor to make some safety modifications to loading corrals that were damaged during load-in of construction, as well as some modifications, again, due to wind damage and window openings. Now that hopefully this should start going away now that we get glass going in. But it is a deduct from that allowance of $2,070. And to answer Bob's question, yes, we still have funds available in that allowance line item.
So moved.
All right. Move for approval by Mr. Ike, seconded by Mr. Berman. Questions, comments? All in favor of PCO number 74 for a net amount of 0, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you. Lastly,
we have our first deduct for our winter conditions allowance, allotment number 1. And this is for our gypsum drywall contractor to separate our temporary heating system down in the basement with poly walls to keep the heat in to allow us to finish the spray foam insulation. That needs to be at a certain temperature. We had to build safety barricades because we couldn't have an open flame heater with those chemical particles of the spray foam insulation. It happened in segments, so every step of the way, as our spray foam subcontractor had to build in inside compartments containing within the garage level. A few times there was about 3 or 4 mobilizations to make containments separating the heat down in there to make sure we maintain temperature and safety. Again, I'm applying this to winter conditions because it all had to be temperature controlled for that installation. We're looking to deduct from that allowance $5,768 for the work done. It is a no cost to the project. And yes, we have quite a bit of money still left in that winter conditions allowance. I just want to be transparent as possible that we haven't gotten the tickets yet from our masonry contractor who put all that conventional scaffolding up, the tenting of all that during those winter conditions. Right now, I think I'm going to have about a $40,000 bill out of, the $75,000 total GMP allowance there.
So moved.
all right, we have a motion to approve PCO number 75 by Mr. Ike, seconded by Mr. Berman. Questions, comments? All in favor of approving PCO number 75 for the net amount of 0, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. All right, on to pictures.
As you could see, Johnny and myself were on the same page this time. So my updates, he's showing great pictures of the progress. Site grading, this is on the north side, as you could see in my updated report earlier. That is the grading that's happening on the north entrance of the garage to get ready for paving and curbing. All right, going down the list. Custom wood ceilings that are going in up in the library. This is from that lower level by the main entrance looking up. As you could see, the ceiling panels that are going in, the cutouts there for the lights, as well as the sprinkler systems. So those sprinkler systems need to be adjusted perfectly to fit the holes within these panels. So when I talk about those minor adjustments on the sprinkler system, that's what it's for. All right. Going down the list, you have your soldier course, like I talked about, of brick being installed. Right there, Lois, if you could see, that's a typical hung lintel detail, right, that I talked about before, but you can see the soldier course of brick going on. As you could see, before everybody freaks out and asks me why there's no drywall and taping on there, there's not going to be. There's going to be acoustical wall panels on all of that, okay? Going down the list, the ceiling grid installed at the teens room, glass doors installed, glass installed. So it started coming, everything's starting to come to fruition. It's starting to look clean and neat. Nothing better than once you start seeing the drop ceiling pads go in and the light fixtures turned on. It's gonna give this place a whole different feel. Going down the list here, this is the layout of those cloud ceilings in the children's center. What we do is we like to build it on the floor using the material there just to make sure we got the layout and dimensioning properly. Once that ceiling, as you can see the metal deck, you could see the conduits, you could see the steel beams all get painted a special blue color. And then once that's complete, we hang the suspended cloud ceiling up and it will give a nice aesthetic look that TSKP designed.
Lois,
what is the material for the clouds?
Acoustical ceiling panel. It's like this. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, going down, next picture. Elevator door installed, and inside that, there's the cab that they're finishing up. We actually were able to take a ride in it today, so it's coming together. Water coolers installed on the first floor. A lot of the plumbing fixtures and whatnot have been installed, like I mentioned before, all the sinks, all the toilets, water coolers, so on and so forth from our plumbing subcontractor. As you can see, that's all done now, but this picture was taken when they started it. As you can see, the hung toilet there and the sink in this picture. But from that, it has progressed and been completed. Progression of the bathroom fixtures as well going in. You can see the drop-in ceiling grid going in, panels in. You'll see some light fixtures go in as well. And that kind of takes us to the end of the pictures. Anybody have any questions?
final questions for Anthony or Scott or Johnny? Lois.
The ceiling tiles, I spent some time at 120 Washington Street in Hartford, and they were filled with aspergillus. I'm wondering now what happens to these ceiling tiles when they're up for some time.
I don't know that question. I know there are characteristics in the product data, I believe, that will, what's the word I'm looking for? I would say block or deter that from happening. There's certain characteristics of certain ceiling tiles. Like for instance, the exterior tile down in the garage, it's a drop-in ceiling like this, but there's exterior, water resistant properties of certain select tile. I don't know exactly what these are and what the compound and the mixture and the product actually does, but they do make tile for moisture resistant. They do make tile for exterior grade. I don't know off the top of my head what these are. Maybe Jeff Brown could help out, but I would have to look at the cut sheet.
Maybe he could just look it up for next time because there's a lot of it in this library.
Yeah, typically the moisture blocking capabilities, as Anthony's referring to, is in bathrooms and in exterior applications that are undercover, like the garage. So anywhere like in a normal room, it's just going to be. So what you may have experienced is humidity issues within the building that can cause things like that.
The building.
Yeah, we won't have any humidity issues.
No humidity issues here.
Yeah, and Scott, you're right. I think typically with the kitchens, shower rooms, things like that, we usually have a special, it's almost like a plastic
Film or
sort of
coating on it.
clean room kind of stuff. But these are acoustic as well as to address hiding everything above the ceiling as well.
All right. Other questions for Anthony and company? All right. We thank you.
Lois, what I'll do is let me look up the cut sheet for you and I could email it to you.
That'd be great.
All right, no problem.
So understand the words.
Call me if you need help. I'll walk you through it. No problem.
Okay, let's move on to Glenn and McMahon.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Keeping the conversation at Prosser, I did want to bring up a couple of items that have been in the works. The town will be using all habitat to apply over a 2-year period on a semi-annual basis an aquatic herbicide to treat the invasive Japanese knotweed species. A potential change order does exist for the mechanical removal means of the existing knotweed. I don't know if we can discuss that briefly.
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead. Do we know what's happening there? I have puzzled looked on people's faces.
I'm trying to look in the scope of work for our landscaper or our site work subcontractor for clearing and grubbing and where they own that and what it calls for mechanical means. Go ahead, Scott.
So Glenn, are you looking to add a change order to provide this herbicide? Is that what you're asking?
No, the town is going to, we've already adopted that in our operations program. So
Oh.
we will be implementing the herbicide treatments for the next 2 years.
Okay.
But step one, the mechanical means, if that's going to go through the project, then that would trigger a change order.
Mechanical means of putting it down?
No, of
No, of
clearing.
removal.
existing.
Oh, clearing. Oh, are we
Yes.
talking about like at the brook?
Yeah,
Where?
right on the- yeah.
Yes, on both
Okay.
sides, the Riley lot and Prosser side.
Yeah, I remember this
But-
issue.
Yeah.
I don't recall where this went because I know there was concern about that from the civil team for some time, and then
Well, can we ask Downs to find out what do we own as far as mechanical removal of what's there?
yes, we can look into that.
And
We're
then,
not sure, then we're gonna RFI, but yeah, we can look at
yeah,
it.
let's
No problem.
find out what we already own and if we need to have some additional work to mechanically remove,
It's on the abatements.
then we can talk about that. Okay, Lois?
I also would like to know that the herbicide has been, I'm sure it has, but approved for this use by the Department of Environmental Protection.
Yep, it has. I'd be glad to share all the information with the committee.
Thank you. I'd like that.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn.
All right, and then the second item at Prosser. So the town owes 2 decorative light poles and bases to be installed. I did have the specific bases spec through Eversource delivered a couple weeks ago to the job site. The unfortunate news was that our town engineer had chased down the decorative poles to keep the same theme or look throughout the center of town. The same light poles that we have at Philly Park and the town green have an extended lead time of 22 to 25 weeks, which obviously isn't going to be acceptable for this application. So I think we're in the process of trying to find an alternate. I did provide the cut sheets today to Downs and TSKP of what was proposed to be installed. I don't know if we can chase down an alternate fixture that might work with that base and bolt pattern, or where we go from here.
Yeah, I saw
So
emails flying around and I know Jeff, thank you. Jeff has reached out to a lighting rep, see if there might be, an alternative product that we can get sooner. I saw something like minimum of 8 to 10 weeks, which might
Yeah,
be
so I got
acceptable
Rob-
if the fixture is acceptable. So Jeff, I'll let you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have Rob Tierney, who I've worked very close with in the past on many projects, including Prosser and McMahon. So if he can work his magic, I'm praying he can. He's initially was kind of saying that he doesn't know if he can do any better, but then we went through the quote and I showed him that it's the poles primarily, it's the issue. So he's trying to see if he can pull these rabbit out of his hat. So I'm waiting to hear from him. I'm not 100% positive that we can make this work, but we're working on it. The other thing I was thinking of, were these part of the town, was this an issue with planning and zoning approval as well? Didn't they, wasn't this sort of a town standard for these design of these fixtures? I'm just thinking if we place them now, is that going to be an issue with a
Well,
different style?
yeah, I mean, this is what was approved by zoning, planning and zoning for us, and the design intent was that the two light poles at the front of the library matched the town green and what's going on at Philly Park.
So what I have right now, we got the bases and the anchors. So my thought was, well, we got the bases with those bolt patterns. So we got to make sure not only do we got to get something that's very similar to that aesthetic and dimensions, but also the bolt pattern is going to match what Glenn already has. So there's a lot of things we're trying to figure out if we can get, and the lead time as well. So
Right.
Rob's working on it. I'll touch base with him tomorrow morning, see what he's come up with.
Okay, thank you. Lois,
It
question?
sounds like Jeff may be doing this, but it seems to me that if we're looking for two poles, they're probably in somebody's, back storage area someplace. Some manufacturer probably has two of these sitting around.
Or does the
Well-
town in storage that were replacement poles? Sometimes they have attic
That's what I'm
stock that they
thinking.
need.
I mean, we're not looking for 17. We're looking for two items, right? Which have been able to be purchased with a 25-week lead period
Right.
over years. So
That was
somebody
the,
probably has two somewhere that we should be able to get.
I kept my fingers crossed and I thought the same, but it's just not the case, unfortunately.
Oh, nothing stock with the town.
No. That estimated lead time, it's after the factory receives approved submittal, the order is accepted, and then I don't know if they're casting these things after they order. It kind of seems like it. I've reached out to other municipalities, town engineers. It's just all a proprietary thing through Eversource. This is where they get their lights from. I've run into this with street light poles, 30-foot poles. I've waited 25 weeks for, believe it or not. So it's definitely a larger problem with lead
Yeah, it's a
time.
bolt the basis that's a big hurdle now, as well as the lead time.
Yeah,
We'll see
so
what we can do.
if it really is gonna take that long to get these and we can't find a substitute, then we'll need some direction here as to whether we'll need to install something on a temporary basis, whether we have adequate lighting or not, without these two poles. So if you guys can take a look at that as you're trying to solve it.
Yeah, Glenn, maybe
we
Glenn
just
tomorrow.
wait.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Glenn, maybe you and I can touch base tomorrow, and then I'll get, maybe we can keep those rolling the 22 weeks, and then we'll find something that fits with those bases now. And it doesn't matter really what it is until then we can swap them out. If
All
that's
right.
a possibility.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks. Thanks for following up on that.
All right. And
Okay.
then, so jumping over to McMahon, we had a very successful opening on the 17th. Very positive feedback from the public at this point. And then, so we're focusing now on the exterior renovation, right? So I was happy that the town council adopted a resolution to purchase the canopies through Structures Unlimited. So they agreed to forego the formal bid process. I have a PO and an agreement has been drafted with Structures Unlimited. I know Jeff is reviewing those shop drawings right now and kind of reviewing where we're going to drill through the framing for the electrical, for the LED lights and so forth. But the good news is that the council agreed to forego the bid process. That was the ultimate hurdle with procurement. So that's a huge plus for that exterior renovation. We also met with Richter and Segan, SLR, and we had a preliminary layout of the exterior children's garden. I didn't know what you had to present tonight, Jeff.
Yeah, I got Mike Segan presenting after I get done. He's gonna present the entire landscaping around the building at McMahon, the children's garden with the parking, and hopefully we'll get a formal approval so they can get working on their drawings. I know you're anxious to get the bids in.
Yeah.
And then we got rain gardens coming, so I got to make sure I get a heat trace on the rain chain and figure out that connection, how that's gonna work with the canopy. So I'm gonna swing by tomorrow at some point and just field measure those alcoves for the third time, just to be absolutely confident that when that canopy comes and those foundations are in, that we're gonna have no issues. So I just want to double check heights, widths, brick coursing, everything. So I'll be there
Perfect.
tomorrow at some point measuring.
All right, I'd like to meet you on site too. Just let me, give me a call when you're
Yeah,
on site.
let's have a call tomorrow morning to discuss the light poles, and then we'll get that so that Rob is working on that while you and I are at the site doing other stuff.
Perfect. I know it is a rather tight window to get things out to bid and whatnot. I mean, the fabrication of um, what is it? So it's like a 16-week fabrication time. Is that correct on the canopies,
Yeah,
Jeff?
the canopies, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. And I had a paver call me the other day. He wants to schedule paving. I said, hopefully, by the end of the week, I'll have revised details on the actual layout and grading and so forth.
So I did talk to Jeremy about the fact that we couldn't find that sanitary pipe in the storm. So he doesn't think we necessarily need a sleeve detail. He thinks that we can modify the footing once we open that area up and then start pouring in there. So maybe we can start with the footings once I get my dimensions done tomorrow. So we just double check everything. It's always good to measure twice and cut once. And then while that's rolling, then the canopies are being fabricated. Um, so I think what we're hoping for was, I think Elizabeth was sick for a little bit, so we had to postpone that meeting until, when was it, last week? So they're all excited. So hopefully tonight we'll get approval from the committee tonight to then proceed with all the drawings to give to you for pricing and procurement.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. If you'd like, I can bring up the budget. We'll just touch base on the latest total here. Let me share my screen. All right. So the only changes, we still have $150,000 line item dedicated to the exterior renovation. And we're keeping a little over 13,000 in the technology equipment supply line item. There may be a couple tweaks here and there or additional items that are needed. We just don't know yet. So it's a little premature to take those funds away from technology. Thank you for all your work, by the way, Chris, and coming in low on that number. So we had the 150,000 for the exterior renovation, along with a remaining contingency of $66,434. That puts us at $216,434 remaining in our budget for McMahon to cover everything for the exterior, with the exception of the parking lot. I already had a PO cut to Forbes Asphalt to repave that. So it's primarily the plantings, any additional sidewalk, and obviously the expanded children's reading garden. So I think we have enough to work with. We've got a healthy number for the exterior renovation. Does anyone have questions?
Questions on the budget for Glenn? Mr. Berman?
Not a question so much, Glenn. Could you forward that, sheet to Joe so we can send it on to, onto the committee?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And that the canopies are already accounted for, right?
Correct, they are. If you can see my cursor, the two canopies, they've been accounted for in this line item. The canopies plus the footings came out to $158,231. The footings, that's in Millennium Builders wheelhouse. They have a PO cut to them, and Structures Unlimited, they had a PO cut as well.
I think that's great because we had thought it would be more than that when we started talking about it. So doing them at the same time was terrific.
Okay, Glenn, you want to do your invoices?
Sure, I can stop sharing. Joe, is it easier for you to pull up the invoices? And I believe I have one quote.
Yes, it is. He's going to do that.
Okay. you want to start with Red Thread?
Yeah, he's without a microphone, so we'll need you to narrate.
Okay.
But he's working on bringing it up here.
So the invoice for Red Thread, they did modify the counter height. We received it, it was 37 inches. It wasn't ADA compliant. They did quote us at 34. So they had removed that counter in the staff lounge, modified it at the shop and reinstalled it. It checks out, it's 34 inches in height. It looks great. And that's all we owed them out of all the furniture. Remaining on this invoice is $8,275.42.
I
So
just want to make
moved.
sure they didn't charge for that, right?
No, they did not.
Good.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the invoice by Mr. Reich, seconded by Mr. Berman. Thank you very much. Questions? All in favor of the Red Thread invoice for $8,275.42, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you. Next one.
All right, I've got several invoices for Robert H. Lord Company. I guess we can start on the invoice starting or ending in H. There you go. So this was all the miscellaneous furniture. You can read through the description. Everything is in place and checks out, has Abby's approval. $40,232.52.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Reich. Seconded by Mr. Berman. Questions? All right, all in favor of the Robert H. Lord Company invoice 35678H in the amount of $40,232.52. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, if we can move on to Robert H. Lord invoice 35678K.
I move approval. of
There's
invoice-
several sheets there.
Move approval of invoice 35678K in the amount of.
Correct. So the total,
$5.14.
Second.
hang, one moment. I didn't hear you, Bob.
I moved approval of the invoice in the amount of $51,905.14.
All right, I have one comment to make on this invoice. So per Abby, there is an item in here. If you scroll down to item referenced T.02R in the amount of $5,434.24. These were the workstations, the universal screen table in the adult work area. We were hoping to find a different solution. I know those screens were not up to par with our expectations, and I know they're looking for a different solution to supply updated workstations for the adult area. So we are holding off on that item in this invoice. It comes out to roughly 10%. So everything else in this invoice is in place, has been approved. So the total would be $46,470.90.
I'll accept the amendment. I'll accept the amendment.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion to approve as amended by Mr. Berman, seconded by Mr. Ike. Questions? All right, all in favor of the amended invoice for $46,470.90, please say aye.
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 Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes.
All right, again, Robert H. Lord, invoice 35678N, $7,290.72.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ike, second by Mr. Berman. Questions? All right, all in favor of the Robert H. Lord invoice 35678N for $7,290.72. Please say aye.
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 Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes.
Okay, and the last invoice, 35678V, in the amount of $3,758.20.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ike,
Second.
second by Mr. Berman. Questions? All in favor of approving the Robert H. Lord invoice 35678V for $3,758.20, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes.
Okay, and the last invoice that I have is from Stafford Mechanical.
Working on it. Give me a sec.
Yep. Okay, so this was for the installation of a 6-inch insulated supply vent flex duct into each restroom. $1,350.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ike, second by Mr. Berman. Questions? Lois?
Again, I wish it had said what it was for. As a group?
We approved the proposal last week. When I presented, Glenn wasn't here, not last week, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, sorry, my memory doesn't suffice, but it would be nice if there were something on the bill so that when we review it, we know what we're reviewing. We talked about it before. Doesn't need to
Mhm.
be long.
All right, I can request that in the future. Not a problem.
Other questions? All right, all in favor of the motion to approve Stafford Mechanical Services invoice in the amount of $1,350, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes.
Okay, and the last item I had was a quote from Park Railway. So this quote is for all the interior and exterior door keys and cores for the lock system. We waited on this because we wanted to piggyback off of Prosser Library. We wanted the same keying schedule. It only made sense to myself and our facility manager to keep things streamlined and simple with our lock and key systems throughout town. So this is for all the cores and keys to be installed, interior and exterior doors. $889.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ike, second by Mr. Berman. Questions? Lois?
Does this mean that you've agreed to pay in cash? I was just surprised to see that.
I'm sorry, paying cash? Oh, I did out of my pocket, out of the goodness of my heart, Lois. I took
Well,
care of
that's
it.
what I thought.
No.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
odd to see on an invoice a term that says cash. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm just not used to the system, but
No, it'll be a purchase order.
Not an invoice, quote.
it does say cash.
Okay, so, all right, so we will have an invoice coming to us for payment.
Correct.
Okay. All right, other questions? Mr. Berman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I presume you're going to go ahead and get some quotes for retrofitting one of the 2 bathrooms for access?
If that's the direction the committee would like to go in, I can certainly gather estimates to convert that door frame, install a mechanical opener along with a push button. It would probably mean a new door slab as well. If that's, it didn't come up on the radar as far as being a required element through our building inspector to meet ADA compliance. But if that's the direction the committee would like to go in, I can certainly gather prices on that.
Yeah, let's find out what it's gonna cost, because I can tell you, if you try and get out, it might be possible to get into a bathroom with a walker. Getting out will be virtually impossible.
Glenn, maybe you can coordinate with Anthony because he's doing the same thing with 2 doors at Prosser.
All
I
right,
believe
sure.
but I know it's not exactly the same. No 2
Yeah.
hardware is exactly the same, but it should be pretty similar, so.
Not a problem. I'll have some numbers for you at the next meeting.
All right, thank you. We have a motion on the floor for approving the Park Railway quote at $889. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, can I just bring up a point that Bob Berman just brought up? I have a grave concern. If we're saying we design renovation to a building where somebody can't get out of a bathroom, I have an issue with that. Is that the case? For the public
As,
record. For the public record.
as Mr. Garrity has just explained to us, and we've gone over it before, the code has requirements for these things. They're very strict. We've met all of those. I take what Mr. Berman says with a grain of salt, not literally. That is not true that you cannot get out of the bathroom. May it be more difficult for some patrons than for others? I have no doubt. But I'm not.
I just want to clear the public record because it's a public meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. No, we have met.
And that's no disrespect to Mr. Berman.
No, nor do I.
And I'm taking this seriously because I think what Bob is requesting is actually an automatic door assist. So, and it makes total sense to me. It's just unfortunately we didn't get it at McMahon and the upstairs bathroom, but I'll describe that later. What it does is it actually helps with the opening of the door by electrifying it. And then that way, when you have a walker, you don't have to worry about propping that door open as you're trying to get out of the bathroom. But the doors work according to ADA compliancy and everything else. It's just this is an assistance. It's above and beyond.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. Anything else for Glenn?
Glenn, what about the Meyer invoice for the move?
That will be under Colliers, correct?
Yes, that should be under Colliers.
Yes, I have not seen that invoice. I think maybe it went directly to Glenn, but yes.
Okay.
When we receive it, it will be presented by Colliers.
So I'll hold
Thank
that
you.
out.
I mean, did you receive something? Because nothing came to me. So
Yeah, there was something in the distribution that we already.
was it? I missed it. So
we
okay.
will.
Yeah, I mean, I know they did everything, so I'm not going to take any exception to what they.
Yeah, there was for Myers for the move, that was done on 3/7 and 3/10.
Yep.
For 3,411.36.
All right.
I think that's.
We'll wait till we get to your report, Doug, and we'll see what we're going to do with that. Okay. Anything else for Glenn? All right, Glenn, we thank you very much. And congratulations on opening the library. All right, so let's move to Jeff, TSKP.
Oh, thanks, Mark. The last building committee meeting, there was some questions about whether or not there were those automatic door openers at Prosser McMahon. So I just want to go through quickly what we've had time to confirm, confirmed and dotted our I's across the T's with Downs. So basically, we confirmed that the auto door operators are included in the project in specific areas that were agreed upon at an early stage of the project. These include the public gang toilets adjacent to the community room, exit door C102 in that vestibule at the south, as well as those sliding doors next to the community room. Those doors are all automatic. The sliding doors have integral sensors that automatically open those doors, which is different than the push button door assist device. We also have the entire main entry vestibule doors, the sliding doors, and they are automatic as well. Based on the comments from the last building committee meeting, I provided a Downs with a proposal request to add an additional automatic door operator at the community room door, which happens to be an egress door. It's a double set of doors, and we're going to do a single leaf. But I just got some questions today from Johnny over at Downs that we'll have to address tomorrow with our hardware set, because there's, these things are a little bit complicated with certain lock sets and egress sets and stuff like that. So we'll work through it. I don't think it's impossible, but we're still trying to get that one. The upstairs bathroom, we're going to provide one at one of those unisex bathrooms upstairs. There were some initial questions about the automatic door opening assist, opening the door on somebody that may be in there. But I think we got around that, I believe. So we'll address that, flush that out with the hardware consultants and Downs team in the next days. So proposal request has been sent out for those two doors. And then Glenn, I think what we can do with that upstairs bathroom door is see if we can make sure that any discussions we have, we include you for McMahon for that single door that we're going to have at McMahon as well. Let's see. TSKP participated in the Plaza Concrete site meeting with Manafort and Downs, Richter Segan on the 24th. At that same day, I participated in a walkthrough with Downs to answer questions regarding the children's room, cloud ceiling paint colors, and exposed deck at the north ceiling deck at the north stair and ceiling layout in that deck area. So Anthony had mentioned the color blue. What we're going to do is we found the bottom of one of the lowest pipes. From there down, which will be an exposed face of the soffit, will be the light blue color. Everything from that datum up, including the deck, will be the dark blue color that was per the renderings that everybody has looked at from the beginning of the project. And then we tweaked those clouds to make sure that they're going to set at that level in between on that datum line. So I think everybody's going to have a clear idea how that's going to go up and work. It was a great meeting. Downs also has confirmed that they'll be relocating those hanging sprinkler pipings along column 3.1 and will protect any wooden ceiling and sheetrock as required. A landscape architect site visit report was issued on 3/24 with photos, and as usual, submittal review and RFI reviews are continue to be ongoing as they trickle in, trying to get those out as fast as they come in. So that's basically it that I have for Prosser.
Questions for Jeff on Prosser? Okay, we're good to go, Jeff.
For McMahon, I've invited Mike Segan of Richter and Segan. His team put together a pretty incredible landscape plan for the children's garden. So I'd at this point like to turn it over to him. I think if we can share his screen and pull it up, and then I'll allow Mike to walk us through what Elizabeth and her team saw recently. And the goal here tonight is to get approval for this so we can get the drawings out to Glenn as soon as we get approval.
Mike, welcome. Nice to see you.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to start just some quick background. This was the original plan that was prepared and approved. The reason I show this is that it involved a comprehensive look at the entire site, redo of the whole parking lot and landscaping, as well as an extensive upgrade of the entire storm drainage system on the site. And we're hoping as we move forward with some of these smaller pieces on the project, that we won't, number one, have to go back through site plan approval in the Planning and Zoning Commission, but more importantly, be required to do any extensive changes in the drainage system on the site and utilities. Next. The scope of our work originally was to focus on the children's garden area, but also in that process, looking at upgrading the handicap spaces that don't meet code and are sticking out of in their current situation into the aisle. So they would be relocated where we had the EV stations, and their EV stations are charging stations are already installed on the other side of the parking lot. So it allowed us to do that. Modifying the parking lot in this area also allowed us to remove pavement, which we needed to do to keep the impervious down, and also increase the size of the children's garden area. Next. This just shows where we increased the children's garden area and relocated those handicap spaces. You can see how they were sticking out into the aisle. The red is the continuing the 24-foot wide parking lot lane in. So they didn't meet any code requirements, et cetera. So they were relocated, and I guess the nice thing about it is it gave us a lot more room to work with in terms of the children's garden area. Next. In addition to that, as we're working on this, the dumpsters are sitting out into the parking lot, and given the parking lot's going to be repaved, we are asked to look at the same thing we did at Prosser and putting the dumpsters into an enclosure. So that was added to the project, and also restriping the parking lot so that the EV stations are aligned on parking spaces as well. And then in addition to accommodating the new canopies at the front and back of the library, we're also looking at a related rain garden to each of the canopies, as well as some simple and basic foundation plantings to replace some of the material that were pulled out. So that's the basic scope of the project. Next. This just shows the comparison of impervious surface. And as I mentioned, it's important, if we don't increase impervious surface, it hopefully will keep us from having to go through a whole engineering review and back to planning and zoning. Removing and enlarging the reading garden and keeping that pervious material, it shows the blue there, which is all the impervious area that's been or the pervious area that's been reduced from the project. The bottom line is there's actually an increase or decrease of impervious area, which helps us a lot in terms of the storm drainage and working with rock and SLR on that as well. Next. So this is the concept for those areas that were just discussed. It includes widening the main entrance with a new canopy and creating improvements to that island with the handicap spaces so they meet code and are signed properly and there's an accessible route to that spot. Putting the dumpsters in an enclosure in the parking lot. It also includes the landscaping around the base of the building, the foundation, but also not only adding the new canopies, but rain gardens related to each of the canopies. And after I go through the children's garden, we'll come back and just speak briefly about the rain gardens and our approach there. Next. This is what's in front where the children's garden is going to be off the children's section of the library. You can see it's pretty bleak right now and sort of spills right out into the parking lot. So we need a sense of not only the improvements to the garden itself, but a sense of security and enclosure to the garden, which you'll see how we've approached that as well. Next. From inside, there's great opportunity here for inside-out connections. There's plenty of glass that faces out, and you can just sort of visualize this outdoor room that's just an extension of the library. But you can also see here how you just, spill right out into the parking lot. So hedging and screening and security enclosure is going to be important to the development of this space. Next. Here's the concept that we reviewed with library staff. We've got some good input, and I think people are excited about the direction that it's going. But the space really is an outdoor room. It's enclosed and screened from the parking lot with a hedge, and I'll get into that in a little more detail shortly. There are gates into the space to provide some security and protection, both from people coming from outside in and also keeping the kids within the space as well. There's a number of key elements that are part of this, and I'll go through each one. And we have some inspiration photographs of what some of these elements might be like. I think it helps visualize the space a little bit. The first is the activity stations, and those are the tables in areas right off the room. Yeah, and we looked at a combination of possibly tables as well as both picnic tables and regular round tables, smaller tables. And staff really was preferred the non-picnic table. A key part of this is having canopy. So we have 2 canopy trees that provide that overhead ceiling and shade for this area, which is important because south is directly down, and from midday on, it's going to get some good sun and heat in there. Next. This just shows the top left photograph, shows a typical canopied space. This is in the fall, so the leaves are falling off, which you probably want the sun in the wintertime if you're out in the space. But that's the whole concept of some nice canopy trees to shade that area. And then some tables that typically that we've used on a couple different projects. These tables are designed so that you can pull a wheelchair up to them, and the accessibility to the space is really key and important from inside the library as well as from outside the library. So that's would be an important part of it. And then even down to you can get these tables at different sizes, and we'll work with staff to see what combinations they want in terms of the heights of the tables that might be mixed up. And then you can see the lower left really for this really small young kids, some small tables. The only concern about that is that kind of furniture you really probably need to bring inside just from a security point of view, where the other stuff is pretty heavy and pretty secure. Next. Second element to the space is what we call the story time hub. And that's an area where you can, there's a storytelling platform, children-friendly seating. You could have either optional chalkboard or whiteboard, which I'll show you an example of. And this also happens to be shaded by a pergola here. So this is more for groups and storytelling and maybe even small performances, that sort of thing on the exterior. The pergola, and we'll show you some examples, would be high enough so let's say the hedge is 6 to 8 feet, you could actually put some sort of recognition of the garden on the pergola that would read from the parking lot. And that was, there was an inquiry about from staff if that was a possibility. Next, Cynthia. Just here are some images of just enclosed covered spaces. Pergola on the lower right actually is something that we designed at Doncaster. It just shows if wood was used, just a more natural material. And I think talking to Jeff, that's sort of our feeling right now, to go in that direction versus maybe a metal that would match the canopy at the entrance to the library. You could do a sail overhead as well, though I noticed in the picture, the shade is everywhere but on the kids. It's just a cool day there, so they all have jackets on. We love to use these Warsaw tile furniture for the kids to sit on. The precast concrete, and they're white, so they reflect, don't heat up in the hot sun if they're exposed to the sun. The middle lower one shows a chalkboard. Outdoor could be a whiteboard as well. And lower left, just possibly signing on the pergola itself that reaches out towards the garden or towards the parking lot, if that was something that was preferred. So there are just some ideas here of what some of the elements could be. Next. A third part of the design, key component, is the seating reading nook. It's in the far corner of the garden, and would be really the farthest away from the library area, kind of a quiet corner. Might have a specimen tree that sort of terminated the space as you look out from the library itself. But it's really for one or two or maybe three people to be sitting, reading, off by themselves. If you go to the next, this was hard to find some inspiration things, but you kind of get the idea. It's off in the corner, more quiet area for people to be. And again, could be one or two, three seats at the most, maybe where someone's reading to a child in the corner. Next. The fourth area is the interactive learning garden. And that's along the whole south end, and could include, pollinator butterfly garden with ornamental grasses, fragrant material, and kind of cool textured plants that get the kids excited about planting, and the whole butterfly and pollinator issue, which is such a big thing everywhere nowadays. And go to the next one, Cynthia. And this just gives some examples of some of the plantings, and this could be a spot also for some birdhouses or some colorful, where you can bring color into play, and various pollinator plants attracting butterflies and the hummingbirds, and some really cool textured plants as well. So it's a kind of an interactive area that also should provide some color and interest to the garden as well. Next. The fifth spot are the benches that we have around the garden. We're showing 3 locations, and those are primarily for people that want to go out and read or sit, maybe have lunch. It might be library staff. And the benches themselves, we looked at is just, and actually some of them are, most of them, the 2 are in shade. One's potentially in sun for the cool times of year where you might be out there and the sun might be important to get. But if you go to the next one, you'll just see some examples. The right side are kind of what we were thinking, maybe the lower right, if we're matching the wood of the pergola, which is a teak on the right, and there are some child-friendly sizes in those benches, as well as really all the benches themselves. The library staff, Elizabeth and Nicole, provided some of the images on the left, which are really cool. You can see the book one on the upper left-hand corner, and the one in the upper right, the circular one for older kids, and the different ones you could add around the garden area. Certainly budget-wise, some of these are very custom and maybe could come in at a later stage, but there are some cool things that could be done, possibly down the road a little bit too, when there's more of a budget to work with. Next. And then the sixth area relates to the hedges and gates. In this, there's hedges around the perimeter of the project, and we'll talk about the height of those. We probably wanted to get them about 6 to 8 feet tall to get enclosure and also just security so that the entire space is secure. We're showing gates off the main entrance and then off the side, the south side, as you go out to the front of the library. And then everything else is hedge or planting. It's important, I think, from a security point of view. And here you can see on the right side some different hedges. Upper right is a privet hedge. The middle is probably about the height we want, is 6 to 8 feet, and that happens to be a Japanese holly. And then there's always arborvitae. That'll get really tall, but you can't prune it down to a certain height. And then just some examples of gates, more of a simple metal gate, which probably is more budget-wise what we're thinking of. You could do the children's garden signage on the gate coming off the library entrance that's shown on the lower left, and then just a colorful gate on the upper left as well. Next. And then the next one relates to let's see here. I believe the next one, trying to make sure I stay ahead. Oh, yeah, relates to, there was brought up at the last meeting, I think Jeff brought it up about security here in cars from the parking lot, possibly, you know, out of control, either coming from either side into the space. So we talked about getting some bollards out along in that strip that's outside the hedge, which makes a lot of sense. And if you go to the next one, and there's all kinds of things we can do. The lower left are boulders, which is probably the most cost effective. There are other secure ways, bollards, some cool round balls that could be put, and might have some color to them, or even candy striping some of the bollards that you can put a sleeve over, and then very creative one with books piled up. So that we feel it's important to get some protection out there, and these are just some options that we're looking at. The floor of the garden area needs to be pervious, which allows water to soak through. So we're calling for a flexi pave or pervious material. The upper photograph is something we did about 15 years ago in a park in New Canaan. It was the first time flexi pave was used. We've since used that in many cases in streetscapes, et cetera. And it kind of looks in the photograph on the bottom, you can see a little better. It has a kind of gravelly look to it, but it's soft underfoot and allows water to go through. And working with Rock and SLR, we really need to have that whole area being pervious material, so drainage can infiltrate down into the ground. Next. And then the final issue we want to talk about are just other garden considerations. We know the budget will not, and I just saw the budget for the first time tonight, but we knew the budget would not allow some of these other things for sure. But like a free library stock that could be set outside with books, and I think the library is already anticipating something like that. Rotating story panels or illustrations around both in this space, but also around the campus of the library. And I know Elizabeth was thinking about that as a separate, future phase possibly. Incorporating whimsical elements, both hanging from the trees in here and sculpture around, and adding additional birdhouses and feeders. And if you go to the next one, Cynthia, these are just some examples of, signage panels, musical pieces, instruments around the grounds, chimes hanging from the trees, and book sculptures. There's all kinds of cool things that can be added in layers over time. And some of these were also suggested by the staff, and we wanted to show them as well. Next. So that's a overview of the concept. And we're about ready to get into refining it. The one thing I did want to get back to, just discuss briefly the treatment around the perimeter related to each of the canopies. The front and back are rain gardens that there'll be a rain channel that comes down, a rain chain into these areas. And we have just some examples of what a rain garden might be. These aren't designed yet, so we're working with the civil engineer on this as well, and TSKP. But these are just, the upper left is a rain garden at Charter Oak Academy we did in this very center of the courtyard. It just shows you at a much larger scale. The intent is to take stormwater runoff and infiltrate it into the ground. And it's just a more natural way to do things without putting in a lot of drains and drainage, et cetera. And then just some smaller examples of what some of the components might be in that rain garden in terms of boulders or rocks and vegetation. But they're going to be much smaller areas than certainly the photograph up on the left, and more of the scale on some of the photographs that are around. But it's an opportunity. It's definitely an educational opportunity. And when it is raining, it can be kind of cool to see the water come off those canopy down the rain chain and into the garden itself. So it really is a cool educational tool to have at the library and right at the entrances as well. Next. So that's an overview, and turn it back to you and Jeff. If there's any questions or comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Boy, this looks marvelous. I know everybody wants this to be the best it can be, and so I don't want to speak for the committee, but I would be in favor of looking at alternates on some of these things, and if they can be itemized when we go out to bid, and if we can find some more money, from our contingencies, then we should be looking at that. I think given what we've cut back to get to this point, I don't think we want to cut back anymore. We want to see this done properly. So, I think we want to, if there are things the staff is looking at seriously, then I'd like to see those go out to bid, and then we can decide later whether we provide some additional funding, beyond what we're looking at the budget now. Anybody want to talk on that? Lois?
I just have 3 questions.
Go ahead, please.
I think it looks wonderful, just really wonderful. I love the rain gardens, and I'm grateful to you, Jeff, for pursuing that. I think they'll be beautiful, especially if we have a commitment to maintain them. I've dealt a lot with 8-year-old boys, and what they like to do is play inside hedges. So my concern is, who's going to keep them from getting A, into the hedge, or B, out of the hedge into the parking lot? Will there not be some kind of fence that will keep them in? I realize this is a very negative kind of structured approach to this, but it's a shame when you lose an 8-year-old boy in the parking lot.
Yeah, we could add, for instance, 4-foot high picket fence inside the hedge. And it might be a consideration down the south property line with the adjacent neighbor as well. Just to kind of close the security off. So essentially the entire area would be fenced in, and you wouldn't really see the hedge, or I'm sorry, the fence all that much, with the hedge as the backdrop behind it. And if it's picket, it's quite open as well. So that might be certainly has an additional cost to it, but that would be more peace of mind and really help secure the area.
The other question that I have is about the plexi product. What is it made out of? For the ground,
Yeah, it's gravel in a polymer that ties it all together. They mix it up almost like you would concrete, whatever. And I can get you the specifications on that. But there's a new product out now that we're considering using that uses slightly different material. The original one usually used recycled tires.
right,
Uh,
and that's the
and-
one I'm worried about, and it's
Yeah.
supposed to be really terrible. And we put it on one of the elementary schools, and I've been worried about that ever since because the kids eat it. And it's
Yeah, we
got
just met with somebody from a different manufacturer that no longer carries the FlexiPave and is now does not have the same, it's not made up of the same material. It's all gravel and a polymer. So there's no tires, recycled tires in it. So that's probably the direction we're going to go here
Okay.
for the very reason you just mentioned.
That's really, really important to me that it not have the recycled content. Most times I would say it should have, but in this setting, it's really terrible. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Clark? Grab the microphone.
Thank you. Could you repeat what would trigger a site plan approval requirement by the town?
Well, we don't know until we meet with them and go over all the elements that are in here. Sometimes it's just the scope of the work. From a drainage point of view, we're concerned if we're increasing the impervious coverage on the site, that they may want to reevaluate the entire drainage system. But we aren't, so we don't trigger that. So once we get concept approval, we're going to meet with town staff and go over the changes and the modifications from what was approved. And we'll get their input. So I can't answer that till we meet with them. We're hopeful that they can administratively approve these changes because they're just upgrades and we're not adding parking, we're not expanding the library footprint at all as well. So I hope that answers your question.
I think so.
All right. Other questions for Mike? Okay. Oh, who's got a hand up?
Chris?
Chris?
Yeah, just a quick question. This might be more SLR or more down the line. Some of our staff after the presentation and then since we've opened McMahon have expressed concerns about only 2 handicap spaces. Is that something that we can still discuss and maybe get another space or two? 2 does seem kind of limiting.
Yeah, I guess we could look to add more than the 2. I think 2 does respond to the amount of parking, the number of parking spaces by code, but there just may be an increased demand at the library, it sounds like.
I think that's really what it is. We've already noticed it since we've reopened because we have 2 now. And you know, they can fill up fast. So
Okay,
something to consider.
yes.
Okay, thanks for that, Chris. Anyone else with questions? Any other hands up, Joe? We're good.
Yeah, Ava had.
Ava?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree with Chris. Code is usually built on a sort of generalized population. Bloomfield has a very large older population and a lot of people who do need modification or accommodation. So I think particularly given that Chris is already noticing that, maybe it's something to consider. Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else for Mike? Okay, then can we have a motion to approve this concept plan? Moved by Lois. second by Mr. Berman. Further questions or comments?
What does this mean? That the designer will go ahead and complete the design, preliminary design, or?
That would be my understanding, correct, Mike?
Yeah, the next step is to finalize the drawings so that Glenn could bid the work out and get pricing on it. I think, Jeff, tell me if I'm wrong on that.
No, I think you're right. What we'll do though is taking note of Mark's comment on listing of the alternates. So I think what we can do is maybe have an offline discussion with Elizabeth and her team, just one last quick time, and just discuss the mandatory components and then what we can list as alternates. So at least we get the main body spatially and aesthetically that garden, then we can actually strategically know which can be added later conveniently. You know, it's most cost effective initially, but we set the stage. So it sounds like we're going to see if we can work in one or two more handicap spots. So that's a given. We'll have to do that definitely. And then the other things we'll get input from the library staff in terms of what is required to be in there right now versus what are the alternates, and then assume that if the alternates can come in from Glenn with the price that we want, then we'll include those.
And I had also asked Glenn to reach out to the beautification committee for their input as well. They always would like to make comments and review the plantings. So I know, Glenn, you said you would be doing that at some point along the way.
Correct. Yep, I can reach out to Sharon Mann. If this.
I just want to say that what's been interesting with the whole team, that's the town and our consultants, is that going to that soft opening, I could just visualize this garden and the whole connection of inside, outside, the layering, that it doesn't exist there. And I think that the library in its very nature should be relating to the outdoors and to nature and creating those kinds of spaces. And I think that, you know, we were always doubting whether this was going to be a great library again, but I'm really getting excited about this garden. I don't know about anybody else, but that relationship from inside, looking through the glass, the teen room, the children's garden, it's going to be a wonderful connection.
All right. Any other questions on the motion? Clark.
Excuse me, thank you. I was just thinking, was there mention that there's going to be two gardens? There's just a garden as shown here on the front of the building.
This,
There's
Two
one
rain
children's
gardens.
garden.
Two
Yeah,
rain gardens,
rain
I think
gardens.
maybe.
Okay,
two
Yeah, can you point to the
canopies.
little blue areas? The two blue areas next to the canopies of the rain gardens.
Right, two canopies, two rain gardens.
thank you.
And then one children's garden. It's almost the size of the building.
Anything else? Questions? All right, all in favor of the concept plan, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Mike, you and your team done great job. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff, what else you got for us?
That's it for me. We discussed McMahon, so I think the next step is to work with Glenn on the electric assist door on there. So, and then the children's garden canopy. So, plenty to do for McMahon.
All right, Mr. Berman has a question.
Yes, I do. Jeff, is there anything been developed for the front of McMahon along Blue Hills Avenue, the open space there? In front
No,
of the library?
we're limiting the scope to around the perimeter. If you saw that plan that Mike had shown,
Right.
we're going to take the band around the perimeter of the building. Anything outside of that is not in Mike's scope. So I know Glenn had cleared all that. So maybe that beautification committee with the town can actually, I think it was lawn initially. I think there was some bushes up against the building, but I think it's pretty much lawn there, right?
All right, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions for Jeff before we let him go? All right, let's move on to, we've got Doug from Colliers.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Doug.
Hello. Yeah, so So we have Tri-State is continuing to come out and do testing. We got concrete going on for sidewalks in the plaza. Foundations are continuing to test those. Masonry, mortar and cubes being done. We're going to have air and water leakage testing be occurring on the windows. I'm not sure if that's, I think you guys own your independent testing of that, but so that'll be occurring. Reports from the from Tri-State continue to be sent to Michael Hortons, and as well as to the building official. There are four invoices rather from Tri-State that have been submitted for payment that we can review. Commissioning, Van Zoom continues to come out and do their work with startup and commissioning. They have not submitted an invoice for this month. And then as far as the moves go and furniture, as we mentioned, the initial move to McMahon happened. And so we have the invoice for that. And then furniture, we are starting to nail down some of the installation dates. With vendors, I have to follow up with a couple, but everybody has come back positively and said, everybody feels that they can meet our installation dates. Might be a little fluctuation, a few days either way, but everybody feels that they're well within the window of being able to meet our dates. And that's what we have right now.
Okay, in your packet, everybody's packet was a letter from Colliers. They have requested 2 months of additional service fees based on the length of construction being a bit longer than we had expected. We talked about this before. We had DEEP, we had DOT, MDC, all that alphabet soup delays. I think it's very straightforward. They're asking for 2 months. I think that's very fair at their current rate of $98.36 per month. And so I would entertain a motion to
So
approve
moved.
this. Moved by Mr. Ike. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Berman. Discussion? Mr. Berman.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's eminently feasible for us to do this because everything's gotten delayed by many different reasons. Colliers has gone out of their way to make sure they provided seamless service with the change of personnel. It's still working well. I think it's well worth our money.
Yeah, one other thing with this, Colliers did identify in their pricing and their breakdown, and you can see it on their invoicing. They have an itemized amount for the project closeout, which is apart from this. So there's no change in their fees and their body of work for the project closeout. This is strictly, an extension of services during construction. So I think that's very helpful. We don't have to discuss work that they had to do anyways, so to speak.
Right.
It's separated out in their pricing structure. So I think that's helpful. Other questions? Clerk, grab the mic, please.
I'm just wrestling with this because I just hate to pay extra money stuff and
I know it's against your nature to pay for additional services, but that's a good thing.
so can you justify for me, was there extra work done? Or, to get 2 full months? I don't know, it just seems.
I think it relates directly to the number of times they visit the site, which is directly related to, a longer construction schedule.
Right.
Doug, you want to address that?
Well, yeah, you're right, Mark. That's basically what it comes down to is that the construction schedule has stretched out. Our original pricing was based on going until, roughly, I think it was end of April. And so we've stretched that out a couple of months. So it's just additional time for us to come out and make the field visits and, keep on top of what's going on out there. Should be no change. We own all the moving effort and furniture efforts and everything else. It's really the extension, the additional time for us to kind of keep on top of what's happening with the construction.
Including these meetings as well.
Yes, these meetings and yes, meetings, OAC meetings of, once a week field visit, all that. Yep. So that's really what the extra time is, the extra amount and time is for.
Parade going on.
Okay.
And if we did not approve this, what would be the consequences?
I think you'd have to ask Doug what the consequences.
I mean, we'd have to talk to Chuck, but I mean, we'll continue to try and serve, but we might have to cut back number of, the field visits and coverage to try and save some money, try and, limit certain things, but, you wouldn't get the service that we've been providing, but we wouldn't walk away. I'm sure of that. So we would continue to help out and service you, but we would have to certainly cut back on some of the things that we would be doing.
Thank you.
Other questions? Lois?
Mark, I assume that this is a different concept than the concept with TSKP because the work was of different nature.
That's correct. And we discussed this before. We are still negotiating with TSKP for similar, what's driving this is also driving additional fees for TSKP. However, it's a lot easier to break this down with Colliers because they have itemized the closeout costs. And that's what we're working with TSKP to recognize that those closing items don't change regardless of the length of construction. There's still things to be done at the end of the job, whenever the end of the job comes. So there's interim things that are done, and basically that is all of Collier's work is extended because of this, not just some of it. All of this interim time is exactly what they do.
I just wanted to clarify how the two requests were different.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know Joe and I have been working on that negotiation, and hopefully we will resolve that very soon.
Want me to bring that letter up, TSKP, or no?
All right. Anything else on the motion? All in favor of approving 2 additional months of service for Colliers at $98.36 per month, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We are good with that. We've got some bills to pay, right?
With that. First on the hit parade
First on the hit parade, our temporary,
is our
Space.
temporary habitat at the atrium for 16K.
and this covers
So
the
moved.
April.
month of April. Moved by Mr. Ike, seconded by Mr. Berman. Questions, comments? All in favor of the atrium invoice for the month of April, $16,000. Please say aye.
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 Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you. Next.
One we have is from Meyer, for the move into McMahon for $3,411.36.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ike,
Second.
second by Mr. Berman. Doug, do you have comments on this?
No,
Was
like
it-
I hadn't received it. I'm looking at it here. They said the looks consistent with what our records show. They had about 8 guys out there, so it looks like they've got 7 or so listed here. So yeah, I don't have any objection to
Um,
this one at all.
Yeah,
I'm
Okay.
gonna talk to Meyer and make sure they send me any future buildings for review. I don't know
Yeah,
if this one,
you know, Doug, I don't have any problem in holding this, you know.
that's fine. If you'd like to, I'll talk to them and if you could just, well, I have a copy of this in the packet. I'll just give it a quick review, check with Tiffany, but we can, maybe approve it at the next meeting.
How about we
Or you
amend the
can-
motion to have me hold it until he verifies it? This way we
Yeah,
don't have to hold it. for
That's
us.
fine. Yeah, review it in concept and I can let you know in the next day or so. Probably,
work?
but by Friday, I can let you know. I'm out most of the day tomorrow. So
Mr. Reich, you okay with,
Yes, sir.
amending
Mr.
that
Chairman.
until,
Yes, sir.
until, Doug gives
Mhm.
Joe the go-ahead?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Mr. Berman agrees to that. Questions? Okay, all in favor of approving the Meyer invoice as noted for $3,411.36, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? We have one nay. Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, what else we got, Joe?
1 second. Have to make the note for the minutes. Okay. Next things we have are from Tri-State.
Mhm.
We have 4 invoices that have all gone through Colliers.
Yep.
This would be the first one for $1,302 for testing on the mortar cubes.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ike, second by Mr. Berman. Questions? All in favor of the Tri-State Testing Lab invoice for $1,302, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you.
Also from Tri-State, the next one for $1,917 for the same type of testing on different dates.
So moved.
Moved by Mr.
So
Ike,
moved.
second by Mr. Berman. Questions? All in favor of the Tri-State Testing Lab invoice for $1,917, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. 2 more.
Number 3 from Tri-State, 1554.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ike, second by Mr. Berman. Questions? All in favor of the Tri-State Testing Lab invoice for $1,554, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. Thank you.
And number 404, approved by Colliers from Tri-State for $1,452.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Ike, second by Mr. Berman. Questions? All in favor of the Tri-State Testing Lab invoice for $1,452, please say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Anybody abstaining? Motion passes. 1 more.
We did in fact receive an invoice from Van Zelm. Hold this if you would like.
All right.
And the reason that they didn't go to you, Doug, is because it looks like they're still going to Sean.
Oh, okay. They were notified. So, okay. Thank you. I
Alright.
will review this one as well. And just
I'm gonna hold this
confirm
one
it.
out.
All right. Thank you.
We will hold
I
on
will
that.
talk to them as well. Because I know they were
Alright.
notified.
Thank you. I have one item that I wanted to bring up. We have a building plaque that's going to go somewhere near the main entrance of the building. I asked Patrick to populate it for me with all the names that are probably going to go on it. And so I took a shot at a design, and I will make sure Joe gets this to everybody so we can talk about it at our next meeting. But there's hard copies for you as well here in the room. and you can see it on the screen. So we'll get that out to everybody. There's a lot of people on there, as it should be. Takes a village.
So Mark, can I take some liberties with this a little bit? Can I just make sure
Absolutely.
that- can I make sure
Absolutely.
your last,
Yes, we
your
want.
last name is,
Yep, Jeff,
Yeah.
we want your input on this as well.
okay, because I see some things already. I want to make sure your name is a full name. Same with Patrick's, so it all comes out. And maybe we can architecturally design it so it just feels a little better here.
Oh, yeah, I
But no,
did
this is
this.
good. This is very
Yeah, I
good.
did this very quickly and,
It's
so
good,
yeah,
very good.
obviously my text boxes didn't behave very well there.
And then what I'm gonna need is
Building
some high
committee.
res of the logos, the town seal and the BPL. I think we have the BPL already, so,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, the
make sure we
committee's
get-
gonna discuss this and
okay, okay,
do what additions and deletions and
Great.
so forth. So,
okay.
all right, I didn't want to spend more time on it than that tonight. We could go back to 2011 when we had our first study for the library. You could do that. Okay. Yeah, I took my cue from the, what's over at the Human Services Facility on that plaque. All right. Other committee members with any items? Mr. Berman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand that the list for Prosser for electronics and screens has come in. I also understand there's no estimated pricing with it. That creates an issue and a problem because we don't know what we might be looking at for estimates. And I thought we were going to see something similar to what we saw for McMahon. And I just want to go over a time frame issue. So everybody's aware of the fact that apparently the earliest we'll see that then is at our next meeting, which is April 9th. Once things go out for an RFP, or an RFP goes out, then it's a minimum of 21 days. They have to leave open for the RFP. That takes us all the way to the end of April, assuming we were to approve somewhere around April 9th. Then you have the time after that when the bids come in and you got to look at everything and everything's got to be reviewed. And then it's got to come to the building committee sometime in May for us to look and approve of the different bids. And then that has to go out and then this stuff has to start coming in. That puts us in the end of May to early June before this stuff starts showing up. And I think that's cutting it extremely tight. Very tight. Too tight. So I'm disappointed that we haven't seen this yet. And what came in without any estimated prices, which surprises me because I would think that it would be there. So I think we all are going to be somewhat behind an 8 ball trying to deal with this. Thank you.
Chris.
Yeah, I think Bob, there's some confusion here. This package was already passed with prices by the building committee in August. And I've been pushing for it to go to bid since November. So I'm not, yeah, it's 349,000. It's been passed. You guys approved it. It's just getting it out to bid. And so we now have it ready to bid or Joe's getting it ready to bid. So there's some confusion here. I don't think you need prices on it.
Again.
Right.
Yeah, I recall,
I stand
seeing
corrected.
breakdowns, from D'Agostino and,
I stand corrected then.
Well, Chris, I mean, be careful how you phrase that because, you said you've been pushing to get this out since November and I didn't get this till. Was it
No,
yesterday?
yeah, it's in
I-
D'Agostino's ball.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Just want to make sure.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, yes, we've been pushing to get this out for a long time. D'Agostino already had it done. It's, Joe's got it I think we got it almost finalized now, so we're going out. Yeah, I wish it was sooner as well. But I just wanted to clarify that. There is, however, some computers that we need to pass. That stuff shouldn't take me long to get. And as soon as the chair feels it's a good time to go over that list, we'll do that. I could do it whenever we need to.
As soon as you like, Chris. As soon as you
Yeah, I
like.
mean, maybe even maybe the next meeting, if we don't have too much on the agenda, we can do it.
That's important stuff. When you want to do it, we do it. So,
Okay, sounds good.
all right, thanks, Chris. Any,
Allison had her hand up.
I'm sorry, Allison?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add to earlier comments by others about the McMahon soft opening that we had on March 17th. It has been so well received by the community so far, and we have temporary hours 7 days a week. Our temporary hours are posted on our website at bplct.org. And I really want to encourage committee members who haven't seen the new McMahon yet to please stop by, visit, and really understand everything we've even been talking about tonight with all the changes yet to come. There's still more to come. We're so excited. And I just wanted to share that with the committee that it's been fantastic rollout so far. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Allison. Okay. Any other committee members? All right, we are good. And so we've got meetings, we're into April. As we've been saying, the downs, we're down to weeks, right? Just weeks. Anthony's making faces here. Okay, so we got April 9th, April 23rd, next meetings, and yes.
Hmm?
Oh, it's your birthday. All right.
Mine was the 12th, so.
All right, Anthony's going to be providing us with dessert on that day, incentive to show up in person. Okay, public comments. Do we have anybody from the public?
One, no comments so far.
One, no comments. Thanks for joining us. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Lois beat you, Mr. Ike. Seconded
Second.
by Mr. Ike. All in favor of adjourning, please wave goodbye.
Aye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody. Long meeting.
Okay.
Got a lot accomplished.
All right. Thank you, everyone.